Talk about a noir ending. Harry Fabian is so wretched, his only hope for redemption is in letting himself be killed. It's one of the bleakest and most satisfying finishes in all film noir. Now, after Jules Dassin wrapped production on Night in the City, the film was shipped back to Hollywood. Dassin also returned, but was not allowed back on studio property to edit the film. The filmmaker was blacklisted. No studio would hire him. Refusing to testify before HUAC, he left for Europe in 1953 and drifted around the continent trying to get work as a director. At every opportunity, either the U.S. State Department or various Hollywood studios scared away potential employers from hiring him. In 1954, French director Jean-Pierre Melville, who'd been scheduled to direct a caper film being made in Paris, told the producers to hire Dassin instead, even though he hadn't worked in 4 years. Dassin, of course, came cheap. He rewrote the script, directed the film, and appeared in it as an Italian safecracker. Rififi would be hailed internationally as one of the greatest caper movies of all time. It would win Dassin the Best Director Award at the 1955 Cannes Film Festival. But more importantly, that's where he met actress Melina Mercouri, with whom he'd spend the rest of her life, as well as directing several of her classic films. Dassin returned to America briefly in the 1970s, but for most of his life he lived in Greece, his wife's native country. Now, 2 different versions of Night in the City were released in 1950, one for the British market and another for American audiences. The US version, which you just saw, is actually 6 minutes shorter and features an entirely different score. Composer Benjamin Frankel wrote the music heard in England, a version that also features a couple of additional scenes and lots more diegetic background music, including familiar tunes by Cole Porter, which Dassin used to bolster the notion of a displaced American in London. Now, Fox didn't want to pay for the rights to those songs, however, and they were removed from the US cut. Not that there's anything lacking in Franz Waxman's frantic and fantastic US score, which gives the film propulsive energy right from the start. Now, a few years ago, I had the privilege of seeing the film's original cut, which is archived at the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. It's strikingly different from both released versions. For one, there's a prelude and a coda showing scenes of bridge workers coming and going from their daily shifts. The first scene between Harry and Mary is entirely different, longer but not as focused. And there's more screen time given to Helen and Phil Nosseris, including a scene in which Helen learns, after her husband's death, that he's bequeathed all his money to Molly, the flower lady, played by Ada Reeve. Googie Withers, who played Helen, was one of the most popular actresses in England during the 40s and 50s. She'd been making pictures since 1935, when director Michael Powell pulled her out of the crowd of extras to take over a major role in his film The Girl in the Crowd. She never looked back, appearing in such popular hits as The Lady Vanishes, One of Our Aircraft is Missing, and Dead of Night. As she matured, Withers' unique persona resonated with post-war British audiences. She came across as a common woman, but one with an uncommon sex appeal. Nowhere did that come across more strongly than in the 1947 classic It Always Rains on Sunday, where she plays a harried housewife hiding a former lover, an escaped convict, in a ramshackle Coldwater flat, right under her family's noses. Withers kept acting throughout her life, last appearing opposite Oscar winner Geoffrey Rush in the 1996 film Shine. And I can't sign off without mentioning the amazing work of Stanislaus Zabisco and Mike Mazurki, who played Gregorius and the Strangler.
I have ticket.
Get out. This place is for wrestlers.
Mazurki was a professional wrestler turned actor who had a long career in pictures. But this was Zabisco's only movie role. Now, he too was an actual wrestler, one whom Dassin had seen as a kid in New York. Their impromptu battle in the empty gym is one of the most evocative and grueling fight scenes in movie history. Now, remember to keep the conversation going during Noirvember by checking in at Noir Alley on Facebook and Twitter. The suspense continues next week with one of Alfred Hitchcock's greatest films. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna stop running me north and south and get myself a glass of gay and frisky.